The Buddha taught two things, and I've always been emphasizing on these two things that he talked about. He said he only taught suffering and the end of suffering, and they are together. Because to gain enlightenment, nirvana, it means the cessation of suffering, the end of suffering. So in order for there to be nirvana, there has to be suffering first. Like Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh has said, that there is no lotus without the mud. So the mud is in the lotus and the lotus is in the mud. You can't plant lotuses on diamonds. They can only be planted in mud. And that's why Thai, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh always emphasize no mud, no lotus. So no suffering, no happiness. No dukkha, no nirvana. When we encounter suffering, we can see it as an opportunity for us to walk the path of Dharma, to walk towards enlightenment. And maybe it can enlighten us. Because when the Buddha taught about the Four Noble Truths, the Shi Shen Ti, he talks about suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, which is nirvana, and the path leading towards the end of suffering. That's why when we go into Buddhist centers, we tend to see the symbol of a Dharma wheel, usually with 8 spokes on it. There's some with 12 spokes, 37 spokes, but most of all, you see 8 spokes. They represent the 8 elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. You could Google about it or Wikipedia about it. I do talk about that from time to time. So these are the 4 noble truths that the Buddha taught. When he talk about the noble truth of suffering at the end of suffering and so on, he's not saying that it's the ultimate truth that life is just suffering. A lot of people, when they just started learning about Buddhism or hearing about Buddhism, they might have misinterpreted it wrongly, misunderstood it as, oh, the Buddha said that everything in life is suffering. The Buddha never ever said that. He said that in life there is suffering, and there's a cause to the suffering, and there's also the end to suffering and also a way to end that suffering. So this is what, as Dharma practitioners, as cultivators, as spiritual practitioners, this is what we're focusing on. When there's suffering, you want to realize that the path of Dharma has opened up for you. And that's a chance of liberation, of enlightenment. It's so simple. So the Buddha said, that's the only 2 things that he taught. In all the scriptures that you can find, it boils down to these 2 things. But of course, he has different audiences, so he has to use different similes, parables, different ways of explaining the same thing to them. Which is why we're always reading books, we're going for retreats, we're learning from various teachers or from the same teacher, just to keep listening until one day, maybe we're ready, and then we can be enlightened just by listening to something. Or in Chinese, they say 顿悟, which is in a way like a sudden shock in Zen. That boom, you just open up your mind all of a sudden. To just keep repeating it. It's about consistency at the end of the day. Even in meditation, when you focus perhaps on your breath, you pay attention to your breath. It's about the consistency of saying no to stray thoughts, to wishful thinking, to unnecessary thinking, saying no to our attachments, our desires, and even the desire to run away with our thoughts, not be here. We're saying no to all these things. So of course, if you haven't meditated for a very long time and you try to settle your mind, it's going to be very difficult because your brain waves, your neural pathways are not used to it anymore. It just wants to go out. It wants to go out. So there's always going to be some sort of resistance, and we have to learn to gain power over them. Nowadays, people are all talking about quality of life. Even companies saying, let's improve everyone's quality of life. And then somehow it becomes a quantity of life. Let's go for yoga, let's go for a sound bath, let's go for ice bath, let's sit in a sauna, let's meditate. Oh, there's mudra meditation, chakra meditation, kundalini meditation, channeling meditation, manifesting meditation, Buddhist meditation, Christian meditation, all kinds of meditation. So we all, in society, is all running around. Even when we get to Buddhism, it's like, oh, there's Zen Buddhism, Pure Land Buddhism, Theravadan Buddhism, Thai Theravadan Buddhism, forest tradition, blah, 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 blah. Then I don't need to describe when we get into Vajrayana, oh, there's this deity, this empowerment, the higher yoga tantras, oh, how many mantras here, the empowerments here and there, because we want to improve our quality of life, but unknowingly we're trying to get quantity of life. So much that we don't know where to place our attention on. We don't know what, maybe we get on the mat, it's like, what am I going to practice today? You know, like it's nice that you have a practice, but you sit down, it's like, you just don't know what to practice because you have too much. So we can tend to grasp on the things because we still have a very worldly mindset, even when we get into spirituality. We're just shifting the seed of desire, the seed of wanting to acquire, to accumulate. We're still using it, just that the object has changed. But the seed of desire of wanting, of accumulation is still there. We can lie to ourselves it's spiritual, it's wholesome, so forth and forth. I was just reflecting that I didn't want so many things when I was a monk, other than wanting a better robe. And we only allowed one set in the Theravadan forest tradition. So if you're going to change a new robe, you need a very good reason why you need to change a new pair, a new set of robes, right? The alms bowl. So after I had my own robes that I could dye on my own, choose my own dye and use my hand to wash and to dye them, I upgraded myself to a bigger alms bowl. I felt that, oh, life is perfect, right? Then there are times when I just sit down there, I'm just looking outside my heart. It's like, maybe I should grow some plants. Other monks are growing some potted plants in their own. It's like, but I would like to practice Zen. Maybe I should buy some carpet grass and lay it outside so I have a nice walking meditation path. Or how about the fence because there's temple stray dogs running around? Then I thought maybe I should buy a dog as well. So I literally spent a whole week having this great idea of the perfect, making my kuti into a villa, basically. But it sounds right? Like, you grow flowers and maybe butterflies come by and then you can get the flower and offer to the Buddha. So I was talking to my brother monk about it, like my grand idea. And then after I said, we have so many mosquitoes, is it possible to plant a eucalyptus tree in Southeast Asia in our climate so that we can ward off the mosquitoes? From wanting potted plants, I wanted a big tree. I was trying to think of a way to import a tree. And that's when I realized this is frivolous. I spent 1 week of my monastic life thinking about gardening and what is it for? Anyways, and it's for myself outside my own heart. So of course I did not do anything about it. I left it as it was and I just ignored it. So is it in our lives, whatever we want to pursue, we think that I choose to believe that we want to improve our qualities of life. That's why we want to go and do something. Some people say that we try to do certain things or to be away from things because we're trying to find peace. We're seeking peace. If finding peace works, there won't be wars today. Because it's not about finding peace, it's about making peace. If you know how to make peace, there won't be the wars happening right now as we're speaking. In every situation that we are in, it's all about making peace because you can spend your entire lifetime finding peace, then you have crazy ideas about what peace means. It's quite extreme, right? Maybe I remove you from my life, I have peace, I remove this mental block in your mind and I'll get some peace. So we have to learn to make peace. You see, things change all the time. We live in a very impermanent world. Everything is subject to change. You are changing, I'm changing, everything is changing. Even right now, we're talking very subtly. We're growing older, just that we can't detect it. But every millisecond that goes by, we're actually dying. The moment we were born, we're already dying. It's a process. Or if you learn how to die, that's where we actually learn how to live. Purpose in life. They say that you can't live without a purpose. Maybe some people are finding their purpose. Well, if you're listening to this, I hope we have found our purpose somehow. We're old enough to know purpose. But the purpose in life is not enough to keep us going. Maybe you have not found, or maybe you're not walking on the path towards your purpose. It's because you haven't found the meaning of going with that purpose. So it's very important, yes, to have a purpose in life, but also to find meaning in it. Otherwise, how would we actually continue? How we go on? And this boils down to our alignment. Our alignment with our purpose, our meaning of what is happening in our lives right now. Where are we in life? We need to align ourselves with that. So when Buddha said to Still the mind in the present moment, to not live in the past, to not live in the future. It means to get in touch, to fully arrive in this here and now. And it's not just about the present situations and conditions that you have, but it's about how far you have come in your life, how much work you've done, how much you've nurtured yourself, how much you've nurtured others so that they have bloom and they are ready to fly. Right? That's life. And that's why we do what we do. And eventually people around us will evolve. Things around us will evolve. Everything will change. Even ourselves will change. So when we get in touch with what is around us, what we've done so far, you might notice that maybe some things have shifted. And if you're still using the old mentality, the old mindset that, oh, I need to continue nurturing so and so, whatever relationships I have with work or with our loved ones or for myself, it might not, we might not see a meaning in it anymore. And then we feel like, you might feel dejected, you might feel bored, you might feel tired of it. Why? Because things have changed. You have changed. Your energies have changed. Your cultivation has changed. So we need to get in touch with it. What has changed thus far? And then we can really meet it. And then we can align with this truth first. Because whatever purpose people have, I like to see it as we just maybe like what the Buddha said, there is suffering in life, and there's also the end of suffering. The end of suffering is liberation. And whatever purpose we choose, maybe we're trying to liberate ourselves. If you think about it deep enough, you do something, you want to get something, you want to liberate yourself from something. Maybe you want to liberate yourself from hardship, from unwholesome conditions. You want to liberate yourself from danger. You want to feel secure. You want to feel safe. You want to feel calm. You want to feel good. Right? So maybe we have already been liberated from many, many things. But if you carry on the wrong kind of energy, trying to liberate ourselves when suffering is not in front of us yet, then we're wasting our time because that's the time where you're meant to enjoy the end of suffering. But our accumulative mindset might come up because suddenly we feel there's no purpose. There's no problem to solve. There's nothing to nurture, nor to nurture. We start to find things to do. You start to pick up responsibilities. It could be work responsibilities. It could be, I don't know, your own ideas of what makes you responsible, what makes you worthy. It could be personal, it could be spiritual, it could be anything. And then we start picking them again, right? And then we end up with a big mess. So you see, when I say arriving, aligning, getting in touch, you want to get in touch with what have you been liberated from throughout your whole life? Unwholesome situations, negative situations, undesirable situations, fear of someone dying, fear of someone being sick, all these kind of things. You've done a lot. They have liberated, you have liberated. And you want to enjoy that. So what's next? Maybe there's something that's coming up next, but that's not the point. What is your purpose right now? Like I said, it could be just enjoy or liberate yourself from this endless cycle of finding purpose, endless cycle of confusing ourselves. And that's why the Buddha said one of the mental poisons or mental afflictions, the defilements, or you can translate as kleshas in Sanskrit, is moha. Moha means delusion. The Tibetans, they also translated it as confusion. There's a seed of confusion coming up. That's why we could feel a bit messed up at times. So back to suffering, end of suffering, and making peace. You don't have to go on finding peace. You have to go on finding meaning, but you place the meaning between you and your life and what is happening in front of you. Because a new meaning needs to come up. The old doesn't work anymore. You've done enough, people have transformed enough. Things have changed, situations have changed. So what is it? You want to get in touch. It's like, oh, what is this meaning? Then the purpose comes in again, right? It's a new adventure. It's a new journey. And if you like responsibilities, that's a new responsibility. We might say we don't like responsibilities, but I think we all do like responsibilities, right? We want to feel, maybe you want to feel important. Just don't be responsible for the wrong things or things that have already passed, things that have already changed. following thus far? So whatever we go through in our lives, we need to truly learn to identify what's in front of us. First, by restoring ourselves, by stopping, by coming back. See, even in meditation, we learn different kind of meditation techniques. And like I said, these are techniques, these are tools, these are forms of meditation, styles of meditations, be it mantra, yantra, tantra, all the tra, chakra. But we should also understand that it is about the meditation itself. The meditation is the meditation. You see, when the mind starts to still down, it starts to calm down, or maybe it starts to master, you know that you have the skills of mindfulness, the knowledge of mindfulness on how to apply them. But most important of all, what happens when you get into deeper states of meditation? Sometimes you have mudras coming up, sometimes you have mantras, you have visualizations coming up to nudge you towards a deeper consciousness or higher consciousness, deeper state of meditation, which is to say that meditation should not have an object. And in Mahamudra, they say that, believe, there's no object of meditation. And what does that mean? Actually, there is still an object, if you want to see it that way, that meditation itself is the object. The experience is the meditation object. And what do we mean by that? That you just meditate on the experience. Means you're not meditating on the vibe, the feeling, because they could lead into emotions, they could stir the mind more, and you can come up with different kind of stories about maybe some esoteric or psychic experiences. So you meditate on just the experience itself, the experience of meditation. Since we're here to meditate, perhaps we love meditating. That's why we're here. And we know that meditation is important, it's helpful. So we meditate on the meditation experience, which means that there could be highs, there could be lows, but it's part of that meditation experience. You want to honor, respect your meditation practice. Maybe you invoke Guanyin or invoke the Buddha. You recite some mantras and you just get a good feeling just to nudge you into that state. And then you meditate, let it go. You meditate on that experience. It might change, it's okay. Just be in there. And naturally, your mind will be very still because you are focusing on the experience. You're not adding in your thoughts. You're not trying to interpret it. Because to interpret it, maybe you're just trying to find suffering again. Just be in that experience. It could be an energetic experience. Just be there. Don't need to interpret. Don't need to contemplate. Don't need to paint a story behind it. And you just continue, continue, continue. Just this experience. And your wisdom will tell you what to do. Your wisdom will say, okay, come up with this mantra, produce this sound, produce this light, for example. Move the energy this way, that way. But because you're not interpreting, you're meditating on it. And it just happens on its own. I don't believe you see meditation masters doing this all the time. Right? Do you think they sit in the cave for one whole year? Or they get into dhyana, they go like 6 days? Right? They don't do that, right? Or do you think they keep visualizing the same thing non-stop, non-stop, non-stop? They don't do that. They just use these to get into a state of meditation and then they meditate on the experience itself. And that's why we say meditation has no object. Everything we use is just an anchor point for us to get in to meditation. And everyone here, I believe, we already know how to get into meditation. So I'll just do very minimal guidance and we'll see what happens when you get in. All right?